Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Canelo Alvarez has had his say on Ryan Garcia, and according to Canelo Alvarez, he believes that Ryan Garcia is currently wasting his talent and potential. During an interview, Canelo said the following on Ryan Garcia. Look, Ryan has a lot of talent, but to me, in my eyes, he's wasting a lot of time and wasting his talent. I look at him and don't see him 100% dedicated, and to us, that's a bad signal. We always remind him as a team to come to the gym, train, and to learn, because you need to be in the gym. You're learning day by day, at the very minimum, fighting 5 times a year. When I was beginning my career, I did 15 fights in 1 year. That's where I was at the beginning of my career, so definitely he needs to be a little more dedicated. Those are the words of Canelo Alvarez, and while Canelo is not one of my favourite people in the sport of boxing, I wholeheartedly agree with his take on Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, of course, is a guy who has had a lot of fame for quite some time now on social media, Instagram, etc., and he's making a lot of money outside the sport of boxing, and many people have speculated whether that has taken away from his dedication to the sport of boxing, and that is essentially what Canelo Alvarez is implying in this interview. He's basically alluding to that he and Team Reynoso have to remind Ryan Garcia to train, and I'm assuming that means Ryan Garcia has missed days out of the gym when he's expected to train, and that sort of thing doesn't really surprise me when it comes to Ryan Garcia. In the last 12-18 months, he's been very unreliable in regards to actually getting in the ring. Recently, of course, he suffered a hand injury. That sort of thing happens. You can't really do nothing about that. But before then, he was supposed to fight in the summer, but pulled out due to apparent mental health problems, whether you believe that or not. And yeah, right now, Ryan Garcia just isn't a guy who is fighting regularly enough for a guy of his age. He's still only 23 years old. He's basically a prospect at this stage, and you want to see those sort of guys be a lot more active, fighting different styles to develop their skill set, and that's something I believe Ryan Garcia has been missing out on. He's part of a great camp, but that's irrelevant if you don't have the natural aptitude to train and you don't have the desire to be a great fighter and learn. And that's what it seems like with Ryan Garcia right now. His head isn't 100% in the game. And Canelo Alvarez obviously sees this and recognises this. And it's interesting because there are some parallels between Canelo Alvarez and Ryan Garcia. Obviously, on the come-up, Canelo wasn't really in the social media generation, not to the extent it is now anyway. But Canelo Alvarez, even before he came to America, he was viewed as a big star in Mexico, and a lot of people knew who he was, you know. He was quite famous for a guy of his age, but he dealt with that and remained dedicated to the sport of boxing. He never let that kind of waver his focus to becoming a top fighter, whereas Ryan Garcia, it appears that is the case. It doesn't look like Ryan Garcia has his priorities in order, and quite frankly, if this does go on, you do wonder how long Eddie Reynoso and Team Reynoso will actually put up with Ryan Garcia. As the old saying goes, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Ryan Garcia, to me, is a talented fighter. I would describe Ryan Garcia as a raw talent. What I mean by that is he's got great athleticism, great power, great speed, decent timing, great reactions. He's got a lot of athletic ability, but technically he's got a lot to work on, and that's only going to improve when you're busting your balls in the gym. There's 2 types of talent in my opinion. There are the raw talents like Ryan Garcia, like Tank Davis, and there are more technical talents. So if we're looking at American fighters, I would say Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney. They are more technical talents, but Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, they are raw talents. They have all of the athletic ability, power, explosiveness, but technically they have a lot to work on. And I see similarities between Tank and Ryan Garcia. Neither one of these guys are the most dedicated at times, and as a result, I believe both guys' development has been stunted. If you get Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis technically more proficient, combined with their athleticism, these guys could be forces in their respective divisions, but it's down to them ultimately to really put the work in and develop as boxers. But right now, Ryan Garcia seems to be getting aired out for not training hard enough, so we'll see what goes on. Is this a wake-up call to Ryan Garcia? Does Ryan Garcia respect Canelo enough to actually take his advice and act on it? Fight on a more regular basis, train more in the gym, and spend less time on Instagram and social media. Will Ryan Garcia take Canelo's advice, or will he continue on the path he's going down? Again, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Garcia, but with any fighter, I always want to see these guys maximise their potential and be the best fighters that they can be, because ultimately that results in a better product for us as boxing fans. And let's face it, Ryan Garcia does have a lot to work with. If you're a trainer and Ryan Garcia walks into your gym, being quite young still, 22, 23, and you look at him, you look at his raw attributes, you're going to think to yourself, I could have a damn good fighter here if he learns and develops, but that's up to Ryan Garcia ultimately. I've long suspected that Ryan Garcia isn't really all that dedicated to boxing. I don't think he's got his heart and soul in boxing, and this is just further confirmation of that. Canelo spends a lot of time around Ryan, and he doesn't seem too impressed with Ryan's dedication to the sport. So we'll see what happens, but me personally, I think when it's all said and done, and I know it's very early to say, but we could look back on Ryan Garcia and say, yeah, the guy was a great talent, but ultimately he never realised his potential. That's the route he's heading down right now, as are a couple of other fighters in boxing, namely Tank Davis in my opinion. So hopefully we see these guys really kind of pull the head out of our arse and just train and develop, but we'll see what happens. I'm not exactly holding out much hope. But anyway, I want your thoughts. What do you make of what Canelo said? Do you believe Ryan Garcia can realise his potential and become a top fighter? Or will he be one of these, what I would call a celebrity boxer essentially, fights once every 12, 18 months, doesn't fight great competition, and boxing is basically a side hustle for him and a way to develop his profile further? Where do you see Ryan Garcia going? Share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Del Boy. Peace.